Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is all about a flawless matte finish for dry skin. This is going to be a detailed step-by-step video of how to achieve a matte look for women or ladies or whoever that has dry skin. This is going to be product recommendations. I'm going to list them on the sides. We're going to sit and go step by step on how to achieve a flawless matte finish for my ladies with dry skin. So if you would like to see how we go from this to this, then just keep on watching. All right, so the first step in achieving the full face matte look is going to be prep. Prepping the skin is going to be essential with achieving the full face matte look if you have dry skin. So for me, I washed my face not too long ago, but I didn't want to like prep the skin off camera. I wanted to prep the skin on camera so you guys can see the steps. So starting off, I'm just gonna get like a rehydrating spray, mist, whatever you have, just to kind of get the skin re-moist so that when you apply your moisturizer, your skin really takes to it. So this is the Tower 28 S.O.S spray. You can use the Caldonia. There's a lot of hydrating mist. I'm not setting mist, hydrating mist that will work really well to just kind of revive the skin and get the moisture so that your skin can receive the products. So I'm just gonna spray. There we go. Not too much. So we're gonna kind of let this sit for a second so the skin can absorb the spray while also inviting more products to go on top. Now that the spray had a little time to settle, we're gonna go in with moisturizer. You wanna find a moisturizer that is gonna be thick, hydrating, moisturizing, so that when we apply the products on top of it, it doesn't strip our skin of moisture. We wanna feed our skin all of the moisture and hydration from prepping so that when we go in with the products that are more mattifying, we still have hydrated and moisturized skin and our skin does not look crepey, powdery, cakey. It just looks smooth and flawless. So for me, I have a few. The Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream is one of my favorites. The Tatcha, the purple one, the Tatcha Dewy moisturizer is a really good one as well. Today we're gonna go in with the MAC Hyper Real Silk Canvas Balm. This is really good for dry skin. It is extremely moisturizing and it is on the thicker side. So that's what I really do love about it, especially when going in with matte products. So it is a nice thick moisturizer and that is what we want to keep the skin nice and supple. See? A little bit of this goes a very long way, so just be mindful of that when you do use it. So as you can see, the skin looks very, very moisturized, has a nice radiant look to it, nice and plump, just kind of even all over. And then it also has a nice little, not tack to it, but a nice hydrated, smooth feel to it. So my skin feels nice and moisturized. So you want to make sure you're looking for a moisturizer that is nice and thick, because it's really going to feed your skin moisture and hydration so that when we go in with the other products on top, it's not stripping your skin of anything. You want it to keep your skin nice and supple. All right, next is primer. So typically I would go in more with like a glowy primer, but that's going to be for more of the glowy looks. All right, so next we're going to go into primer. I have a few primers that I love. I will leave them listed on the screen. Today we're going to go in with the Refy. This is the Refy Blur and Hydrate one. This one is more of a mattifying finish. However, I find that it does not strip my skin. It does not like mattify the skin out crazy. It just kind of balances the skin to keep the shine down without stripping my skin of the moisture. I really love this primer. It comes with a metal applicator. This is one that I find that keeps the skin hydrated without it being overly matte. So I'm going in with a little bit of this one. This also blurs the skin and smooths it out, which I love. I really love this primer. So as you can see, the skin still has a slight reflection to it. It's not overly matte, it's not overly dry. However, it's gonna create that barrier in between the products and your skin. So it's gonna hold back all of the moisture that's in your skin while holding on to the makeup on top. We don't want a primer that's going to mattify completely the skin, because our products on top and our powders that we use are going to create that matte look. So you want to make sure you really prep your skin correctly if you are dry and trying to achieve the matte look. That is key. All right, so I have a lot of matte foundations that I do love that work really good with dry skin. I'm gonna list them on the screen as well. However, we're gonna be working with the Nars Soft Matte Foundations. A little bit of this product goes an extremely long way. The one thing that I will say about this is when you do match to these Nars Soft Matte ones, you wanna swatch it and let it sit for a second, because these do dry down like a shade darker. So just be very mindful when choosing these Nars Soft Matte Foundations. I have two because I like a little deeper, I like a little lighter, and I like to make my own little concoction. You don't have to, but I like to do it because I'm just a chemist at heart, I guess you want to say, with makeup. But also I love them from summertime too. And I like to make my own skin tone. It fluctuates winter, summer, spring, and fall. So I like to be in control. So these are really good because a little bit goes a long way. You do not have to use a lot to get a flawless coverage. As well as I find that they don't dry out my skin crazy. I feel like it gives me a nice, soft, polished look. And then if I do not want to put powder on top, I do not have to, because I find that they dry down to almost like a powdered finish. I really do love the Urban Decay Face Bond. That is a full coverage matte foundation that finishes off as a powder. I love the Lancome Tinty Idol. That one is a matte finish as well. Those are kind of like my go-to foundations, full coverage matte, that do me right, especially because I'm dry. As well as the Dior. The Dior just, however, sometimes their coloring is a little off. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and mix. I'm gonna mix the new Caldonia soft matte with the Marquises soft matte and go ahead and apply it, and then we will continue to blend. So for me, I like to personally lay the product on the face first, buff it out with a brush, and you want to stay, if you're trying to build coverage, you want to stay in that area for a little second before moving on to the next area to blend. So essentially you want to stamp, 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 and then move, stamp, 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 and then move, stamp, 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 and then move. And that is what's gonna build the coverage in that area. So I typically keep the most coverage towards the center of the face, and then once I get to the outer part of the face, it kind of fades so that it is fading into my neck area and you don't see a harsh line of demarcation. So I'm gonna slide back a little bit so you guys can kind of see the true representation of the colors. My neck is a little bit deeper than the rest of my body. However, when it gets to my chest and stuff, it kind of balances out. And I can't really tell with these lights what it's given, but I'm gonna back up a little bit so you guys can see more of the truer color color match, etc. As you can see, I am all even through and through. This is a full coverage soft matte finish, which we love. I love the soft matte finish because I get to kind of manipulate how I want the product to work. So with the soft matte, it's kind of easier for me to apply powders on top because it's not going to be too drying on my skin. Plus, don't forget we prepped really, really well so that the foundation will lay flawlessly, and that is what we want. Again, these Nars foundations dry down a little bit deeper, so once it kind of sets, it's going to kind of deepen just a little bit, which so far I love how this looks. So let's move into concealer, and yeah, keep going. All right, so for concealer, well, let me say this. Before we start with concealer, I do want to kind of go over it with a sponge. You don't have to do this, but I kind of like going over it with the sponge. That way it kind of smooths any lines. If there may be any lines, I use whatever's left on the back of my hands and just kind of stipple over just to give a more softer, polished look, and it kind of helps settle the makeup a lot better. Just kind of do a one over, and you can see right now it's kind of picking up some of the shine, so it kind of helps. Also, the sponge is going to be really good because it is damp, so it's going to kind of keep the skin a little hydrated while working with these mattifying products so that it doesn't over dry out your skin. All right, so next we're going to move into concealer. Now, if you needed to color correct, color correction would come before you do the foundation. You will lay down your color correction wherever you might need to balance out those discolorations. Now we're just going to go into concealer to kind of even and brighten and just add more dimension to the face. So I have a few concealers that I really love that are on the full coverage matte side that don't like crepe up on the skin. It just kind of leaves the skin nice, perfect, even, full color, full coverage, and mattified. So for one are these McGrath concealers. They are full coverage. They are a nice soft matte finish. They lay beautiful, they blend beautiful, and they just look very gorgeous on the skin. Another one will be the Huda Beauty, has really good concealers, as well as the Hourglass. I like the Hourglass because although it's creamy, once you set it with the powder, it just looks like a nice soft matte blended out, blurred out under eye. Really, really love that. Again, I'm going to leave some more concealer recommendations on the screen so you guys can save this video and come back. And yeah, also in the description box, I'll leave some of my favorite concealers that are on the matte side that are really good for us dry skin girls. I have a few colors from McGrath. I have MD27, MD26, M19, and M17. I have an array of colors because I like to fluctuate in how I like my under eyes to look. Some days I like brighter, some days I like a little bit more natural, closer to my skin tone. This just kind of lets me customize my perfect under eye and all of that. So I think I'm gonna start off with M26. No, we're gonna start off with M27. That is the deepest one. We're just gonna do very little. I'm just gonna lay a little here and here, and you see how buttery smooth it is. I just really love this concealer. And a little in the center. And then because of the tone of this one, if there were any dark circles that needed to be covered, this would help cancel that out because it has a warmer color to it. Do a little here, a little here. All right, then I'm going to go in with M19, and this is gonna help brighten just a little right over that, and then down the center. I'm not gonna do any on my chin. I'm just gonna kind of keep that kind of subtle. All All right, so before we get to blending this out, I'm gonna let it sit for just a second and we're gonna go into contouring the skin. I'm gonna go in with the Fenty contour stick in Espresso. I love this one because it is on the drier side, so it's a little bit more matte for contour. I do have a few that I really love that are more creamy. However, it is easier to work with the creamier contour sticks that kind of dries down matte versus a dewy contour bronzer stick, and you have to make sure you really set it with a setting powder. So we want to create the easiest way to get that matte contour where we don't have to pile on powder. So let's see. So I'm gonna go in with Espresso, and I just use my brush to rub through the contour. And I'm going to start up high and literally just kind of stamp it into my cheekbones to create that shadow and warmth. And for me, I stay high above my ear. So my guideline for placement is above my ear. I don't come lower than the middle part of my ear. And when I'm blending, I blend up. So I kind of push the brush up. And I just stamp, and as you can see, it's creating a nice shadow compared to this side. So the really good thing about this is you can build it up and get a super flawless chiseled look. But using the brush gives you more control, and that's what we want. So I just keep it high. And then for placement, when it comes, how far do I bring it into the face? I stop typically out at the outer part of my eye. That's where it fades to. So I start back here and then blend forward because I want most of the color in the product to land in the back. Wherever you start laying the product is where most of the product pigmentation is going to go. All right, and next I'm just going to go around my forehead. And the sides, the temples, just to kind of blend. So as you can see, it's kind of creating dimension, it's creating shadows. It's just kind of creating the structure and bringing back the dimension of the face. All right, before we go any further, well, actually, let me go ahead and do my nose as well before we start to blend out. I'm gonna use this Bedelum Tools brush in the golden triangle and just sketch out my nose contour. And I always, for me personally, I bring it up to my brow bone to create a natural shadow. And this also gives me control with placement when I use a brush. All right, so for now we are, let me do the chin area. This is just all about balancing the face. So I'm just gonna balance it out before we get to blending. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and blend out this concealer. I'm gonna start off with the brush. This is the Real Technique brush, the setting brush. Brushes have no purpose. I don't want to say purpose. You can use whatever brush you like for whatever thing that you feel best is going to work for you. I like this one because it's a little denser, it's a little stiffer, it's smaller, so I can really stipple in that area and build coverage. So I start with the center of my face blending out because I want most of the product to stay underneath my eyes. So initially it's going to pick up the product. I don't need this part of my face to be extremely bright per se, but I want most of the product to stay underneath my eyes. And blend out. So I'm literally stamping, just like I said before, when you're blending, stamp in that area, move a little bit, stamp, move a little bit, stamp, and that's how you build the coverage. Dribble, think about it like a basketball, just dribbling the ball on your face. And then pulling it out. And then also blending underneath the eye. Also, I take it down the side of my nose, almost like a reverse contour, but it's just kind of reinforcing the contour color. You see now the contour color is popping out. So it's just kind of reinforcing that, and then around my nose, connecting it to the top of my lip. And I want to keep most of the color and coverage right up in here. And then I'm just gonna, whatever's kind of left, just kind of go over my eyelid. And this will kind of give an even eye base. And kind of like a wraparound. Then right on top of the contour. So as you can see, when you let it sit for a little bit, it kind of gets a little bit like firm, so that when you're blending it out, you get the most coverage from it. So it's kind of like a little bit setting the concealer, letting it sit for a second, kind of sets it a little bit. However, it keeps the coverage high. And then again to the side of the nose. And you always want to make sure you kind of buff around the nose so nothing settles and you have like that cakiness going on right there. We don't want that. We want it to be smooth through and through, okay? So all right here. And then up in here. So I'm just kind of reinforcing these lines. Then I'm going to take the contour brush again that we just used. I'm not adding any more product. I'm just kind of reinforcing our contour that we did earlier, because some concealer from blending you could have gotten on it. So you just want to reinforce those lines up into this bridge like so. So now we have structure going on. You see where I kind of, the shadows and the shape frame is kind of taking place. We're adding structure. That's what we want. Now we're going to go back into our sponge, and just like we smoothed over the foundation, we're going to smooth over the concealer so we don't really see where it starts and stops. So again, underneath the eyes, just kind of stamping it both sides. And this is with the tip of it down the bridge of the nose, center of the forehead, top. And then when I get to around where the concealer and stuff meets, so back over where this like bronzer area is in the cheeks, I'm going to take the butt where the foundation was and just kind of go back over it so it's a smooth appearance. So right here, you can see where it starts and stops. We want to go over that like this to soften all of that. So now it's smoother, it's softer. You don't see that harsh line of starting and stopping. And the same on this side. Then you can also take your bronzer brush again to kind of reinforce color and blend if need be. All right, so now we have like a buttery smooth, soft, matte base. So I'm gonna step back a little bit again so you guys can see. This is what we are looking like. So far we have the skin prep on. then we have the primer, then we have the foundation, we have the concealer, then we have the bronzer. So this is the base thus far. Now from here, you could kind of decipher if you wanted a brighter under eye, then you would just go with a lighter concealer. But I feel like right now we are good. I don't want it any brighter than this at the moment. So we're gonna move into blush. For blush, I really like the Patrick Star, the one size. Is this Patrick Star? It's Patrick Star. We're gonna use the one size blush cheek clapper 3D blush trio. I really like these trios because you get the cream, the powder, and a highlight. So for this one right now, we're going to start off with creams. You want to make sure you get all of your creams out the way. Rare Beauty has some really good liquid blushes that finish off as a matte finish, so I think those would be really good. You also do want to keep in mind that when you do use like the cream blushes, the liquid blushes, sometimes those do get a dewier effect, so you might have to set the face a little bit more in the cheek area. These this one size one, it kind of gives powdered finish, so that's why I chose it. However, we still are going to set it with the powder to ensure that it does not shine through and it stays nice and matte. We're just gonna go in with, this is an old Sephora highlighter brush. I really like this for applying blush and stuff. So we're gonna go into this one. This is the Rich Bitch Trio, and the color is called Beyond Fab. So we're just gonna stipple it in, and we're gonna keep it high on the cheeks. So I'm just kind of working my brush into it and then stamping the brush on top. So we are bringing color now back to the face. So these are the parts of the routine that you would interchange out with different colors for different looks. However, the base that we just did would stay the same. So the colors that I'm using, you could decipher which one you like best. If you wanted to change them, if you wanted to do a pink, these are the things that you can switch to customize the look. However, the powders and the bases would stay the same. So you see it still has reflection to the skin, but once we go in with powders, you will notice that it would be definitely more matte while the colors are still there. I really love the Westman Atelier blushes as well because those have a lot of pigment to them and they really show through a set powder really, really well, where if you did not want to put a powder blush on top of it, you don't have to, because the pigmentation is that good that it pulls through the powders. So far, so good. I'm just keeping it on my cheeks, kind of around my cheeks and my brows, just to kind of bring some color through. Now we're gonna go on to setting. So for me, I have a few powders that I really love that do really well with mattifying the skin without overly drying it out, so that my dry girls don't look crazy, I don't look cakey and all of that stuff. It just kind of smooths everything over. My first love was the Givenchy powder, but I know some people say that the formula has changed in their color, so I did not pull that one out today. However, I do have the Huda Beauty. I really love her powders. Her powders are so good. They are very matte, but they don't like over dry out the skin. You want to make sure you are applying powders correctly, because they could go left real fast. Also, the Laura Mercier powders are very good. Those are like the OG ride or die setting translucent powders. I love the one size powder. However, we did use his blush, so I wanted to kind of show you that there are other options, but his setting powders are phenomenal at setting with giving that smooth matte polished look. So we're gonna go in with Huda. We're gonna use banana bread to kind of keep the under eyes bright. That is why I didn't go in and set again with, go brighter in concealer, because our setting translucent powder is kind of bright, so it's gonna keep the concealer true to color. So I'm going to smooth out again with my sponge underneath my eyes. Even though there's like not a lot of creasing, I still want to make sure I am smooth before setting. So we're gonna go in, press out one more time. underneath the eye. You're gonna try to stay looking up. I go in with my powder. I press it into my sponge. I'm sorry. I go in with my sponge. I press it into the powder. Press the excess on the back of my hand. So we have this. And then I go in and set underneath the eyes. I stamp and keep stamping. And if I need more powder, I just go to the back of my hand. And stamp again. And I kind of make sure I'm kind of reinforcing my lines on the sides of my nose, but I stamp to set. And I pull it down over my cheek. And then I personally do not bake. I feel like baking for us is unnecessary, especially if you're dry. So I pull it over my cheek, and now you can see it's like super matte through and through. It looks really, really good. It looks poreless, flawless. It's like a really perfect set. So again, press into the powder with the damp sponge that we've been using. Tap off the excess. Press it on the back of your hand. This is vital because this is what's going to give you that smooth, flawless powder application. So set and just kind of stamp it just like you stamp the concealer. And push it over the cheeks. So we're just going to set everywhere we applied the concealer to mattify the center of the face. This is what we're looking like thus far. We're just setting the middle of the face wherever we apply the concealer. Next, we're going to set everywhere else to give that smooth, flawless look. However, we're going to go in with a deeper powder to kind of mimic everything else on the rest of the face. You could, if you wanted to, go in with this translucent and kind of dust it all over. I personally recommend going in with a deeper powder to get the truer, deeper, richer feel of the makeup. So to set the rest of the face, there are also a few powders that I love. I love the Huda Beauty Cinnamon Bun Powder. Then one size has the dark powder. There are a few powders out here that are really, really well. I'm gonna, again, leave them all linked below. And then I'll also pop some of my recommendations on the screen. We're gonna go in with the Laura Mercier powder in translucent, medium, deep. So I'm just gonna take a fluffy brush. I'm gonna tap it into the powder that is in the cap. And then I'm going to tap it so the product goes into the bristles. And then we are going to start here to just kind of dust all over the face, on the cheeks, around the mouth again, on the nose. So we're just kind of pressing everything, all the deep powder, into this skin. So now everything is set. You do not see any shine to the skin. It is a nice blurred matte look. I'm gonna back up again so you can kind of see where we are and how it looks. So now we are all mattified out. Now we're gonna go in with powders, bronzers, blushes, all of that to reinforce all of the hard work that we did with laying the other products. All right, so let's move into bronzer. I do want to kind of pause here to kind of clarify bronzing, contouring, all of that, so you guys have a better understanding of what each does and the purpose for them. So bronzer is always going to be more warm, more reddish. It's going to give the illusion that you got a tan. It kind of warms up the skin. So how you naturally tan in the sun during the summertime, that is the bronzer that you are going to be using. Contour is going to create shadows. So if this was to go to black and white, the shadows on my face would be the contour. You don't see contour in photos. It just shows up as black and white. White would be the highlights and black would be the contour. So that is the difference. Now, when I'm doing a full glam, I like to do both. Some people prefer to do just bronzer only. However, bronzer does not really chisel the face. It just adds color. The chiseling and the sculpting is going to be in your contour to add structure back to the face. So I'm going to show you the difference in bronzer and contour. So as you can see, these are very warm colors. Let me put it this way. So as you can see, these are very warm colors. Colors like this are bronzers. Something that's going to be a little cooler, like these. Even this one is a little warm. However, it shows up a little deeper on me as a contour, as well as, let me show you the other contour, hold on. So these are some examples of contours. They are not as warm as the bronzers. They are cooler. They give off a little bit more of like a grayish, cooler tone, whereas this is a lot warmer, more red. This is the bronzer. These are the contours. So we are going to warm up the skin with a bronzer to get more structure and just a very pretty kiss with color. So this angle brush, this is Juvia's Place bronzer in dark. Go into this one. Tap off the excess and see it adds like a reddish tint. That is a bronzer. I'm gonna go on my forehead because that's where the sun would normally hit. There we go. Next, we're gonna go into contour, and the contour, let me see if I want to use this one. No, I think I'm gonna use this Charlotte Tilbury one, just because, yeah. So we're gonna go into this Charlotte Tilbury. This one is called a bronzer. However, when it comes to my skin tone, this goes a lot darker on the skin and a lot cooler on the skin for me. A little bit of this goes a very long way. So as you can see, I'm tapping it into the tip of the brush, tap off the excess, and exactly where we applied the cream contour with Fenty, we're just gonna kind of double down and go right on top and chisel the face. So I'm gonna go a little bit further with the contouring. I'm gonna go into the matte, richer golden skin finish. This is what this one looks like. You see it's a lot cooler. Tap in just a little and just kind of deepen up the contour. Boom, see? Created a shadow. And just kind of keeping it tight and keeping it further back on the eye. A little bit of this goes a very long way as well. So yeah. And around the forehead as well. As you can see, we didn't really have to reinforce the color on the nose because that contour definitely pulled through that setting powder. So it looks really good. I'm not gonna do anything to it. We're just gonna kind of soften it up in a little bit. We're gonna move into blush. So we're gonna go back into the One Size palette and we're gonna use the blush that's called Blush Deposit from the same quad. I'm gonna kind of dust off my brush to get a little bit of that contour color off. And we're gonna go in, tap, tap, tap. A little bit of this goes a very long way. And then just kind of reinforce the cream blush that we put underneath, like that. Off the excess, stamp. Blush is going to be the first thing to leave your makeup application. So even if you go a little heavy-handed on it, don't worry, by the time you go wherever you're going an hour later, it's not gonna look as intense. So it's okay to go a little heavy hand on the blush. All right, I'm gonna take a fluffy brush, the same fluffy brush that we use for the Mercier powder, and just kind of stamp over everything on the cheeks to kind of marry everything together. Boom. Okay. So far, so good. Typically for the eyes, well, this video is really not about the eyes, so I'm gonna show you kind of like a cheat. So for the eyes, we're gonna keep it super simple because this video ain't for that. This is for the Flawless Matte Finish Base. So for the eyes, I'm just gonna kind of reinforce and kind of smooth out the eyelid. I'm gonna set it a little bit with the powder, the Huda Beauty translucent powder. And then I'm going to get a big fluffy brush. I'm gonna go in with the Juvias Place palette. Again, the top color. At first we use the bottom. I'm gonna use the top one now. Tap it off and just run it all over the eyelid up into the crease. Excellent. Up into the crease. So this is also a great way to fake the funk when it comes to you doing your eye makeup. I'm also going to run it underneath the lash line. Just kind of give it just a backdrop for the mascara. Other side. There's that. Super simple. See? Super simple, super quick. You don't have to really think about it. Throw a little bit of bronzer on your eyelid, run it underneath, mascara. Let's hit it. So I'm also going to do a brown liner. This is from Give. This is her Settle Brown Line It Up eyeliner. So I'm just going to run it in my eyelid. Move this a little closer. Put a little bit of brown in here. Like that. So it's super subtle. It's not as harsh as black. It's more like a black brown, but you still get a little structure in the eye. There we go. I'm also going to slightly tight line. Next, we're going to go into mascara. For mascara, I'm going to go into the mascara. I'm going to go into the Huda Beauty One Coat Wow Mascara. I really love the Fenty. You guys know Fenty is like my ride or die. I just don't know where she at. So I'm going to have to buy another one. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty One Coat Wow and just building my lashes up. Also, make sure you're applying mascara to your bottom lashes. This is really going to help open up the eye, give you like that doll-like feel, and just kind of balance everything out. So this is it with the bottom mascara. Really love my makeup with bottom mascara. Do not skip out on bottom mascara, whatever your look might be. Next, I'm going to mattify this area right here. I'm actually going to use a little bit of the powder, the Mercier powder, the medium, is it medium deep? Yes, the medium deep translucent powder. I'm just gonna kind of tap over it because the concealer that I use for my brows is more on the emollient side. I want to kind of dry it out, and I don't want it to be too dark. There we go. And then a little trick, I'm gonna take powder puff, take the dark powder, medium deep powder again, run it on my hand Take a little bit of the Huda to mix it in as well. Rub it on the back of my hand. And I don't want any of the shine right here. I'm just gonna take it and press it into my brow. And that will take the shine out of my brow. Boom. All right, now we are going to do lashes. But you know what? First, I'm gonna go ahead and brighten up the inner part of my eye. I'm just gonna use a powder. This is from Ben Nye Rich Honey. I think this is a setting powder. I'm not sure. Got it from Costco. So I'm just gonna brighten up right here. Just on the inner part of the eye. And this is a matte shadow. I'm not incorporating in any shimmer into this because again, we want this to be a completely matte look. So we are going to incorporate highlighted areas with matte products. Here we go. So you see it brightened up that area without adding shimmer. I'm gonna take the brush that we use for the bronzer and just kind of go over and soften anything. Okay. Next, we're gonna take the sponge that we use for the brows. Not the sponge, the puff. And I'm gonna go over this area here. So just kind of stamping over the concealer area and the nose contour to soften that area. Also, what's gonna help with that is the setting spray. Once we get to that part, it will really soften all of that. Okay, we're gonna do lashes and then lip. Use are these from Amazon. I will have them linked below if I can remember which one they were, but they are just on the natural side, adds a little flare, nothing crazy, nothing overbearing. They're just a very pretty wispy lash. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. I typically have to cut probably like this much off of the lash, so it's only gonna be like that. You're not gonna really see the curl part. So let's pop these on really quick.
I can literally put you at the back of my roof. I'm gonna do it. You are literally in the back of my sunroof right now. I want you to know that you're going to give advice. You are going to be an expert at something. You're gonna share it. And then after you get done recording, you are going to post the video. You're gonna get thousands of comments. You're gonna get thousands of followers. You're gonna get a lot of interaction on your videos because you are now a content creator.
All right, so lashes are on. Let's move into the lip. For the lip, I'm gonna go in with, what am I gonna go in with? I think we should do a neutral peachy lip to match the blush, which we always do. We're gonna start off with MAC Chestnut. Yes, I know, it's time for a new one. I know, but I'm using it all up. All right, so we're gonna go in with the MAC Chestnut Lip Liner. We're gonna deepen it. I love using the Sephora eyeliner in Matte Brown number 10 as a liner. I just love them. Once they set, they don't move. So we're just gonna kind of deepen up this color. All right, so for lipstick, we're gonna go in with the Makeup by Mario in Flat Iron. It's just a nice peachy nude. Now, you could end the look here and just kind of keep a slight sheen matte on matte lip. I think I want to add a little gloss to it just because the face is so flat. Just add a little bit of gloss. So the final step in this is going to be a 2-step set. The first part of this set, we're going to be using the Urban Decay All Nighter. This is going to melt all of the powders together. This is going to make sure everything kind of comes with one and settles. And then we're going to hit it with the One Size Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray. This is going to bring it back to matte while making sure it lasts all day and does not move. So first one is Urban Decay. Make sure my lashes is on first. Okay. Then you are going to take your brush, your powder brush, and press all over where we sprayed. This is going to ensure that everything is melted together. Okay, gonna take the powder puff as well and do that underneath my eyes and on my nose. Okay, so now that everything is melted together, waterproof and mattify again. So now we are back matte. So I love doing the 2-step setting, especially if I'm going to be wearing a matte full face, just to make sure my skin stays hydrated, moisturized, and supple, and the products that I put on top of it do not over dry out my skin. So this is the completed look. This is the full face of matte products for dry skin girlies. I love how it turned out. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys were able to kind of see the steps and feel like you're able to follow them at home and kind of pull and pick what you need from what I just did so you can apply it to yourself. I love how it came out. I love how it came out. Also with the lip, again, I love a glossy lip with a more matte face. I feel like it just makes the matte skin stand out that much more. I didn't add any highlight like the glow because I feel like with the matte face, you can do the glow, but if I'm gonna do matte, I'm gonna do matte. I don't want any of the sheen or shine. So I let the powders kind of do the talking. Like you can kind of see there's a little sheen on the cheek. If you don't like that, you could take your powder brush and kind of pat it out. But I love the soft matte look, and I feel like it just came out so good. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys are able to recreate this at home. Let me know if you have any questions down below about the steps, the products, the brushes, whatever I used. Please leave your questions down below. I will try my best to list everything in the description box, including brushes, because I do see the comments about what brushes and stuff do I use. I use an array of brushes. So if you would like kind of like a brush breakdown, I will be happy to do so. Yeah, also I do have a look for the dry skin dewy look, full face dewy kind of glow look coming. This was the first one that I wanted to kind of tackle, but I do have another one to follow that will be with dewy products for my dry girls that love a dewy glowy look. I have that coming. It's planned out. I have to sit down and film it. It will be filmed after this one. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also hit that post notification bell so you stay up to date every time I upload and you don't miss an upload. And yeah, until next time, bye guys.